Hello, and welcome back to Library-ish, the podcast where we explore libraries and librarianship within the context of culture and community. I'm Tracy.
And I'm January. Today we're diving into a fascinating and ever-evolving genre, self-help books. Whether you're looking to improve your mindset, your relationships, or even your productivity, there's a self-help book out there for you.
That's right. The self-help industry has grown into a $1 billion empire, and it's more than just books. There are podcasts, courses, apps, motivational events, but today we're focusing on the books that started it all. We'll share some popular categories in self-help, discuss its impact, and give you starter lists for diving into the genre.
Plus, we'll sprinkle in some library tips for finding self-help books and using library resources to embark on your self-improvement journey. Let's get started.
Yeah. Self-help books are amazing. I read them all the time. And I'm very interested in self-help YouTube channels and things like that.
Well, there's something to be said about, being conscious enough to be like, look, if I look at myself and I can see these are areas that I need improvement of, and to be, thoughtful enough to be like, how do I improve myself? How do I go about doing this? And it's January. And every January, everybody makes...
Yes, you are.
Yes,
I had to. I had to.
My name is January, and the month is January.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Regret. Deep regret.
That's okay. I hear. It's great. Anyway, and in January, everybody has the New Year's resolutions, or I'm going to be more this, and I'm going to be more this, and I'm going to be more this. And I can't tell you how many times every January comes around and I buy a new journal because I'm going to be more organized and I'm going to be more thoughtful. And I go peruse the self-help books because, if someone else did something that I'm trying to do and they were successful about it, I want to know the secret.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
And I also have drawers full of half-empty journals.
It's so exciting.
And planners.
Right.
And everything. Because, there is something about, and sometimes it's because it's the first of the year, and sometimes it's because it's halfway through the year, and sometimes it's like there's never a time when it isn't good for a fresh start.
Right?
You're trying.
Well, we're always improving, and as a human beings, we're always growing, and we're always looking for ways to be our better selves.
Absolutely.
Whomever that self happens to be, we're always looking to achieve that. And self-help books are a really big industry because of that.
Absolutely.
It's so funny around this time of year, all the gyms. If you go to a gym, this is when they all flood full of people, and you're just like, oh, I just gotta wait a few more weeks.
Well, because everybody's thinking this is my year. This is my year. I'm going to do it. I'm finally going to do it. And, that's the thing is that sometimes we all just need a little help with that.
Very true.
And that's actually a role that the library has played very often. We're sort of like the first one-stop shop for self-help, regardless of whether it's self-improvement or building a bookshelf. This is where self-help begins.
Right.
So libraries have played an instrumental role in self-improvement and self-help for people.
And there are people that utilize the library in all of its aspects. Like you get your fictional books there. You go there for the kiddo. You go there for the programs. You go there for the crafts. And then you go to the nonfiction section and you look up your book on building shelves. Your self-improvement, your self-help book doesn't need to be this, I shall metamorphosize into the best version of myself. Wait and see. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a new hobby. It can be, all these things. And we have all those resources here.
Absolutely. But that is sort of how the genre of self-help started. And in fact, your favorite guy, Ben Franklin, is really sort of considered the father of self-help.
Oh, Mr. Franklin and his Poor Richard's Almanac.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the 13 virtues within his Poor Richard's Almanac, and I've got them here because there's 13 of them.
Maybe we could just do a short list.
I'm going to just mention a couple of them because, as a whole, the virtues he has are actually pretty good, like moderation. You don't want to do anything to excess. That makes sense,
That's
right?
fair.
Sincerity, try to be honest. That makes sense, right? Industry, lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary actions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
let's work ourselves to death, shall we?
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, that's where Benny and me kind of will part
we
ways, because I think we need a little time to ourselves and a
we
little bit of
do. We
autonomy.
need, and especially nowadays, we need mental days. We need to work on our mental health. We get to relax. We're allowed. You're allowed to relax, and that's okay.
Yes.
And when you don't, you do things like creating an anxious generation of people. This is one of the books that we have here. And it's talking about how our children that we're raising are more anxiety filled than others. And this is one of the self-help books that we have. And self-help as a genre, it's not just improving yourself, it's teaching you, how to improve aspects of your life. In this case, this one's parenting. And we do have a lot of parenting books here that do that.
That's definitely an area of improvement and self-improvement that is pretty popular, are parenting books. How to be a better parent, how to raise a less anxious child. All those things are really important.
It truly is. So when Benjamin Franklin says industry, cut off all unnecessary actions, well, let's define unnecessary, shall we? Because I feel that relaxing and calming and all that stuff is actually necessary.
Well, and that's also speaking from a place of privilege too. Let's face it, the structure of earning a living is a lot different today than it was during Ben Franklin's time. And he also, although he was somebody who sort of created his own destiny, he had different opportunities available.
Very much so. And we talked about in our last episode, he had the boys club where all the boys could come and all the boys could read. Well, it's not the same universe. It's not the same society. Boys had a lot of options, back in the day, whereas a lot of times girls were like, you can cook and you can clean.
Well, certainly gender plays a role in those differences.
If you're lucky, you'll marry a nice man.
For sure. But there's also class that plays a role in that.
Very true as well.
If an unnecessary action, like maybe Benjamin Franklin would say, get a job closer to you, don't ride a bus. If you have to, why are you commuting? That's unnecessary time. Whereas today, many people have to do that be employed.
Very much so.
What an unnecessary action for one society and one social structure doesn't necessarily translate. So Ben was close.
He was very close.
He had some great ideas.
Yeah.
After that, Samuel Smiles was a gentleman that wrote a book literally titled Self-Help, and it was written and published in 1859, and that is considered literally the first self-help book. Thank you. As I drop my pages.
That's okay.
That was literally considered the first self-help book. From there, the industry has just grown exponentially. Dale Carnegie was really the next superstar in the genre in 1939, publishing How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is still a book that people value today.
Very much so. I was actually looking at our catalog to bring a copy here, because I did grab a few self-helps that are relatively popular, and that one's all checked out. I'm not kidding. That one's completely checked out, so I couldn't bring a copy here. And it's one of the most popular self-help books that we've got. This whole self-help book industry has really blossomed into $1 billion industry. And a lot, I in particular, and a lot of people tend to make fun of it every now and then. Like, oh, self-help books. What, you need another self-help book on your shelf that you're never going to read? But when you think about it, it's actually pretty amazing for someone to sit and be like, I need to be better. There are some things that I could improve on, and to recognize that in yourself is actually really mature. It's really grown up and mature for you to think and for you to look at your own self and to be like, there are some things that I struggle with. And if someone else has succeeded in them, I'd like to take their advice. And so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I think when you think about the 1970s, which is really where therapy became accessible to the average person, where it started to become socially acceptable. And you then look forward to when the book Emotional Intelligence came out. I think between that time and the 1970s, it was sort of, Woody Allen made fun of therapy a lot, even though he was in therapy for many years.
People have made fun of therapy.
Yeah, it was sort of like, this is sort of what the elite do, and this is what you do if you have enough time to think about how you're just living your life, then you have too much time on your hands. But I think the book Emotional Intelligence, which the author's name escapes me right now, but I think all of that clinical-based research really changed people's idea about how looking inward and thinking about why you do what you do can really help you have a better life.
Right.
And I think it started to be taken more seriously then. And research has just improved so much since that time. Today, what the industry offers is very constructive, and there are a lot of great authors that are working today. And that brings us to, what are some of the areas that people look at and say, I need help with this? So the one that we've been talking about a lot is personal development. And this is where classics like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a great read.
Yeah, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens is a really good one. If you've got an adolescent that's, you know, I have a 12-year-old. And we have I've talked about her before. I love my daughter. We have a really good relationship, but sometimes there's things that are going on with her that she either A, doesn't feel comfortable talking to me about, or B, just doesn't know how to express. She doesn't know how to ask for help. She doesn't know what's normal and what's not normal and things along those lines. Well, 7 Habits of the Highly Effective Teen is actually a really good book to hand her and be like, hey, you know what? If you don't feel comfortable talking to me about this, give it a read. And if you have any questions, I'm here. And we do have quite a few books of that. We have quite a few parenting books that do that, because Traci, I don't know if you know this or not, but life doesn't have a manual.
What?
I know, right?
What?
There's no, and no matter how many times
I wish I'd get my receipt, I'd get my money back.
Right? These books, this is why I work at the library. It's like mine. You see?
Absolutely.
These books really help, when you don't know how to ask for help. You don't know what's going on. And for teens especially that are facing, a life of instant change, constant change, and sometimes they can't do it.
And we do have a lot of books, personal development books for teens, particularly our Chico branch. But of course, we can send books to any branch within our 6.
Yeah.
But there is a really good catalog of self-help personal development books for teens over at this library.
Yes, and
which is great.
If you're at one of the smaller libraries, like say you're looking in Durham, and hey, Miss Aiko, I love Miss Aiko. She's amazing.
We all love Miss Aiko.
Say you're there and you heard about this great book, and you look in our catalog and it says, oh shoot, it's available in Paradise. Paradise is a long way from Durham. You don't want to drive all that way, believe me.
She knows.
I know. So what you're going to do is you just take your library card, you log in, or you can go to, one of the librarians, and you would just put it on hold. The moment you put a book on hold, the people at that branch that it's situated in will pull it for you, and we put it in our little inner transmittal system that we call the bins. And it travels to each branch, and it'll get to you to where all you have to do is when you get a little notification, whether it be a text message, an email, or a phone call, you would come and pick it up, and it's right there conveniently for you. You don't have to drive branch to branch, and your card can do this.
Yes, absolutely. And so, definitely check out our catalog and see if there's anything that you're interested in. When it comes to personal development books, usually they're about creating better habits, setting goals, and being more productive. Another great one is Atomic Habits. It's one of the books we have behind us here somewhere.
So I've got the audiobook here.
It's really good.
Yeah, with me and self-help books, and I've got 3 kids. So often I can't sit and concentrate because it's like, Mommy, what's this? And Mommy, what's this? And Mommy, I'm hungry. Anyway, so what'll help is what I do is I have a commute, like most of us do, and I'll put on an audiobook. Now, I get a lot of mine from Libby because my car CD player is Le Pou. But we do have books on CD. If you prefer to use books on CD and listen to audio, we've got those too. And this one right here is Atomic Habits, which is one of the main ones they got checked out
it was one of our top checkouts of last year, and it's essentially the whole principle behind Atomic Habits is it's about building systems, not goals, and it's really helpful.
Very much so.
Very helpful. Another category that we went over was mental health and mindfulness books, like The Happiness Trap is one. Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is another. It's focused on managing stress, practicing mindfulness, and improving emotional well-being.
Oh, stress.
Yeah.
We all have so much stress.
These are more of the sort of I don't want to say touchy-feely, but I just did.
Mhm.
Um, they
But I
are
just
more
did.
of the stereotype of what a self-help book is, but
Mhm.
here's the thing. It doesn't mean that it isn't useful. This is something that self-help teaches you. Sometimes because of your emotional barriers and the trauma you've experienced,
Mhm.
you have a resistance to being vulnerable. And one thing that books on mindfulness and mental health allow you to be
Mhm.
or encourage you to be is vulnerable. And that's a really important process to healing and
Mhm.
growing as a person. If you have things you want to change and you want to develop, at some point you're going to have to be vulnerable. And books like this can absolutely help you come out of your shell and find that space in yourself to heal.
Very much so. And here's the great thing. We mentioned this in another episode. We don't judge your reading material. We don't judge. We don't release this from reading material. If you were to check out all of these self-help books and someone calls and says, my name is blah, 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 blah. I want to know what's on my list. We don't release any of that information because this is private to you. These are
Mm-hmm.
private things. And like I said in a past episode, I read trash. I often, and with vigor, I will read trash novels, and I cannot judge. I will not be judging what
No.
you are checking out. So if you're hesitant to check out these self help books because you think that the person at the checkout is going to be like, oh ho ho ho, no, that's not how it works here at all. You are free to read whatever you want, and we encourage that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of what providing access is. It's part of what we do,
Mm-hmm.
is making sure that you are able to come in without judgment and check out whatever information
Mm-hmm.
you need to check out. It's
Mm-hmm.
what we do.
And you know what? Therapy's expensive, yo.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this first little baby step and I'm going to check out a self-help book
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to see if that has any good information to me. And
Absolutely.
a lot of these books are written in a way that can be digested. Like a lot of them,
Yeah.
especially, why has nobody told me this before? It's written to where you can read it in pieces. You don't have to sit down and read it as a whole from beginning to end. You can kind of flip through and be like, oh, that sounds valid. I'm going to read this and see what it says. And oh, this
Right.
sounds valid. I'm going to read this and see what it says. Because sometimes we just need that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need advice in pieces. You don't need it in a giant tome.
No.
Just bits and pieces.
Yep. That's, I
Mhm.
mean, sometimes that's how you have to digest the information.
Mhm.
You have to, go read it, think about it for a while, forget it.
Mhm.
I have explored so many different self-help techniques and then forget them and then rediscover them and go, oh yeah, that used to really work. Why haven't I been doing that? It happens all the time.
I have that funny neurodiversity where I will go through on my phone and I'll find something really useful. I'm like, oh, I better take a screenshot of this. And I take a screenshot and then I immediately forget that I took the screenshot and I never refer back to it.
Yeah. One thing just to note is that there are a lot of us neurodivergent folks within the library working here.
It's a nice spicy neurodivergent stew. It's
Yes.
delightful.
Yes. And it's what makes working here wonderful. It also makes it very interesting. And
I love the people I work with. I
Yeah.
really do. And we're the whole library here, the whole institution. We're very accepting and non-judgmental, and we want to help you be a better person with whatever your personal goals are.
mhm.
If your personal goals are to read 25 books in 25 and get a nice little prize at the end, then we want to assist you with that as well. If your personal goals are to reduce stress in your life, we might have a self-help book we can point you out to. If your personal goals are to for assistance raising a child on the spectrum, we have a parenting book that could help with that. We want to assist you in your personal goals with no judgment whatsoever.
And that is actually one of the things, since we're there. It's actually, we don't have that on the list that I have. But that's also something you can always ask at the CERC desk. If you come in and you're interested in a particular thing, we can definitely help recommend things for you.
Please don't be afraid of the folks at the CERC desk.
Oh,
They
no.
just want to help. I promise you. And they're the nicest people, 100%.
Absolutely. Just eager to help.
Very
Eager to
much
help.
so.
Another good category that people look for self-help is relationships and communication.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So examples: Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman and Crucial Conversations by Carrie Patterson. It just helps you navigate personal interactions. It can be romantic. It can just be platonic or be work based. You know, all those things.
There are certain things that are hard to navigate, and there are certain things that you can't. And sometimes, like, oh, gosh, I'll have an interaction with someone that I know, and then I'll get home and be like, why? But why? Yeah. So sometimes a little help is necessary.
My big problem, where my neurodiversity manifests, is I'm not great with small talk. I am not really great with having conversations, or if there are multiple people, I tend to go inward and become nonverbal and sort of not say anything. And so there are literally books about starting conversations and things to bring up, and they're extremely helpful, because sometimes you just need to have a line. You just need to have a line. And then once a conversation starts, once an interaction begins, you can get on that train and ride that train all the way home. But until that time, it's sort of like, I don't know.
Going to a self-help book is a lot of help. It can be a lot of help. So
yeah, especially because sometimes you feel a little bit alone with the things that are happening in your brain.
Yeah.
And that is another aspect of the self-help genre, is that you realize that maybe you're not as alone as you think you are. Maybe other people are experiencing the exact same thing, whether it's anxiety or brain weirdness. You're like, no, other people are doing the exact same things. And sometimes you can get tips to cope with it. Sometimes it's just knowing that someone else is experiencing that, knowing you're not alone. That can be huge.
I'm so sorry. There's this adorable meme online where it has a woman and a man, they're laying in bed and they're facing different directions. And she's thinking, it shows her thought bubble, he's thinking about other women. I know he is. And it has his thought bubble, if a shipment is on a car, but a cargo is on a ship, how does that work? So sometimes it's as simple as that. Is that the kind of relationship advice, we don't always know what each other are thinking.
Yeah. My grandmother always used to say, thinking is not knowing. And
exactly.
She also used to say, when the donkey has it too good, he dances on the ice.
Hey, what?
So words to live by, folks. Write it down. My grandmother was full of it. I mean, she was full of a lot of sayings.
Most of it very useful.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yes. She was lovely.
Side tangent with that. When we do have here at our library, we have a literacy department, and that literacy department runs, depending on the branch, weekly conversation groups for people who are trying to learn English. Random tangent, because we're talking about idioms, and your grandma had so many lovely ones. People who are learning a second language, sometimes it's hard for them to learn these kind of things, and these conversation groups have a literacy librarian that kind of leads a lesson, and it's a free group. If you know anybody that came over here and is trying to learn English and is trying to improve their English, it's a great group to join, because then they'll be talking about donkeys and walking on ice, and then the literacy librarian will be like, oh, that's an idiom. I'll tell you what that means in a very safe space that is not judgmental. This crazy person at the library is talking about a donkey walking on ice, and I don't know what that means. Then they'll be able to tell you that. It's a lovely program. So I thought I'd throw that one in there.
And Chelsea, who runs it, often is leading the groups. Just amazing.
She's absolutely delightful. Absolutely. She's so sweet. If you ever, she does it in Chico on Fridays from 8:30 to 9:30 before the branch opens. You're welcome to pop in and stay for a spell. And she's so incredibly sweet. You will love her. She's just chef's kiss.
So another great category, and this is probably in today's day and age one the most popular, it's career and leadership. Titles like Dare to Lead by Brené Brown or Start with Why by Simon Sinek. They're huge. This is also the hustle bro space. It doesn't have to be 48 Rules of Power. It doesn't have to. It can be a more general space. I'll bring up, one of the things I'll bring up is the Carol Dweck book, Mindset. Also, and Angela Duckworth, Grit. These are books that are useful in the career space, but they're not necessarily career books. They're not books about leadership or about careers. They're really just about perseverance and about finding strength and finding a space within yourself to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. The mindset book is particularly useful. Carol Dweck was a professor and researcher at Stanford University.
Ooh.
And she worked on this project trying to determine the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. You may have heard the buzz term growth mindset. It has become kind of popularized, but essentially it's about navigating failure. One of the best examples is girls and math. A boy will try a math problem, may not get it right away, but there's the expectation that eventually
They will.
because they have a natural aptitude. And the big lie is that there is a natural aptitude for anything. Everything is a skill that needs to be learned and adapted to. But if you have a mindset that, oh, I don't have a natural aptitude for this thing, so I'll never be able to do it, you've stopped yourself. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the mindset book is very important if you're looking to become a person that is learning a new skill, doing new things. Having a change of mindset is going to be a fundamental thing that will help you. So even though it's not a career or leadership book, it's useful in that space. Then the final category that we'll cover today with self-help is spirituality and purpose.
Yes.
Yes, so books like The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, which we have here.
Right behind you.
And they combine inspiration with deeper meaning.
That's lovely.
Yes, they do. They do indeed. It's a good time. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have the books that I've mentioned, as well as some others. I'm going to have them in a list, and that's going to be printed down in the description of the podcast. So you'll be able to pull that list up. You can also just come into the library and ask at the CERC desk, and we'll be more than happy to guide you
Very
to
much
whatever
so.
category you might need.
Yeah, and you don't even need to like whisper it under your breath. You don't need to be like, I need a self-help book. You know, you don't need to do that. We have no judgment, and we're very, very nice. Just me.
And here's the thing too, maybe you don't want to come in. You have access to Libby with your library card. You also have access to Palace, which is another digital service, which is a consortium between all the participating libraries in California. And there are audiobooks and ebooks available through that source too. And that's something you can shop from your sofa. And look for books.
Oh, Libby's so convenient. I love it. I'll be at home and it'll be like 3 a.m, and because I have, what is that called? Oh yeah, anxiety.
And children. And children. So you're doing other stuff,
yes,
and then in the
and
middle of the night,
one might say
5 minutes. I don't go to Libby.
One might say one causes the other, but we'll never know.
Comorbidity, I believe it's called.
And I can pull up my phone and I can pull up Libby and I can be like, let's see what I can check out. And the moment I borrow it, it's available right there for me to read. I don't even have to get out of the comfort of my own bed. And also, if there's a physical book that you want, but you don't want to like come in and look for it because you're embarrassed, because you're busy, because of any number of things, you can put it on hold. And when you put that book on hold, we will go and grab it for you. We don't mind.
Yeah.
We will go and we'll grab it for you, and we'll put a little tab with your name on it, and it's right there for you to check out. It would take 30 seconds to kind of just walk in, grab it, check it out, and walk out.
That's right. And books that are on hold, we hold them for 8 days. So you have 8 days from the time the hold is pulled and you get your notification to come to the library branch where the item is being held and pick that up. If for whatever reason you miss that date, we're more than happy to go ahead and put it on hold for you again. That's no problem. You may have to wait if other people are interested in the title too, but we're more than happy to do that for you.
Yeah, popular books will usually have a line, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's because they're popular. It's because we only have, so many few copies. But if you put a book on hold and it's waiting on the shelf and you're like, maybe I don't want to read that. Maybe I've already bought it at Barnes & Noble because I was impatient.
Or life happens and you can't come and pick it up.
Right. Then you can just call us and we'll take it off and send it to the next person. It's really not a big deal.
Absolutely. And even if it's on hold and even if you don't call us, it'll just revert to the next page
Very
automatically.
true. Very true. You can do the wait and see method.
Yeah.
And that works out great.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good. We're very flexible here at the library.
We are amazing.
And we are amazing.
And there you have it. Whether you're a self-help newbie or a seasoned reader, there's always something new to discover.
Thanks for tuning into Library-ish. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with your self-help loving friends.
And as always, happy reading. Bye!
Bye.